Welcome to the MTR 5 main feature user guide and overview. As normal, to execute the app, double click, it will immediately notify you and mount your disks. And as before, if you have shut the application down with the extraction window MultiRip open, it will reopen for you on launch. Failing that, you will access it through extractors, MultiRip extractor in the application menu. Main feature, completely rewritten and very, very powerful. To access it, you will select your volume that you wish and the title, main feature, extraction method, and click on the plus add key. Scanning will be indicated as normal in the bottom left, and the volume will then be mounted for you. The familiar standard user panel here, which you now should all be quite familiar with and requires no further explanation. Therefore, we will proceed to the UI config, user interface config panel. Quite large, but fully functional. Let us explain this. Title cells, audio streams and subtitle streams. Underneath, a title pop-up, a disable and enable cell pop-up, a pop-up which enables you to select DVD 5 or DVD 9, a manual quantize value with the quantize percentage and the estimated file size, a DVD media button, allows you to wrap your output into a DVD media, or an ISO to wrap it into an ISO with a optional delete source button. Following the playback control, you have an audio, default audio. There are no subtitles, so the default subtitle is deselected. A exit playback or loop playback, which is the function to happen at the end of playback, whether you want it to loop to the start or exit the DVD, and a selector for drop empty cells, which is to notify the rebuilder that if it has a cell which contains no frames and no time code, it will not be included in the IFO rebuild calculation. The reset button, which will reset the user interface to the default, a deprobe for loading a DVD probe, and a close button. Let us look at our title list. As you can see, it is clearly going to be very difficult without a probe map or to have prior knowledge by a DVD player which title to select. If you select from DVD player and it reveals that it is title 17, that is good. But the problem is here that the cells will be in their default case, which is not what we want. So in this case I hit reset, I click DVD probe, and the same probe map that I have used for everything I can load, which doesn't seem to make much difference until we look at the title map, where I can see that there are 3 titles because Disney, this is Cars, have English, I believe French and Spanish. So title 18 is English, 55 is French and 84 is Spanish. There are a few others. Let us look at title 18. This is an interesting case because, as you can see, we are still indicated it's a multi-angle disc. The user interface is designed to allow you to select one angle or deselect one angle cell. So in this case, let us look at the first angle group. Here, 1, 2 and 3. We can clearly see that angle 1 is selected. If I, for instance, select angle 2, I now know I'm going to be watching English with French intermission. That's not quite what I want. But we notice that all the angle blocks have selected angle 2, maintaining a proper run through of the disc. So let us select back to angle 1. For example, if I actually don't want this cell group, of angles, I can actually turn it off and it does not affect the rest of the angles. They did not get turned off. But if I come back to this deselected angle block and select angle 2, everything, all angle blocks will be selected to 2. Be careful and pay attention to what you're doing in this respect. Here we can see our output is set to DVD9. Well, our movie is 5.14 gigabytes at this point. If I select DVD5, the calculation is automatically made and 4.3 gigabytes. It normally comes in a little under that to be on the safe side. Audio streams and subtitle streams. We can deselect the ones we don't want. Notice there's no change in the quantizer. The alteration for quantize value is made actually during the RIP process to adjust for the amount of data being removed. So even though we are indicating 1.194, it will be a little under this to allowing more data. I also do not want these subtitles. I only want English. Down to playback control. Here I can clearly see there is only one entry. But for example, if I want English and French audio and English and French subtitles, now if I look at playback control, I have a choice of either. So although I will have 2 languages, my default language on playback will be set to English. Likewise on subtitles, it will be set to English. It could be French. Or, for the case of subtitles, I may not want the subtitle on at all, therefore I would set it to no default subtitles. So, when my disc is put into the DVD player, my language will be English, there will be no subtitle default. But I will put it back to English, so playback will have English and immediately selected English subtitles. Let us move on to the exit playback. We have a choice of exit playback or loop playback. When the disc ends, the navigational structures and commands will decide what to do. On exit playback, it will stop playback and put your player basically to sleep. Loop playback, if you have 100 children who like the same movie, will just start the movie again from the very start. Of course, that may drive you insane, but it will probably keep your children very happy. For this example, we will put it in exit playback. Drop empty cells. Even though we have certain cells selected here and everything is pretty much okay, you should still have a look to see in the case of these small cells. DVD probe probably played them back, but I for one would deselect that last one. Half a second, not really going anywhere, won't impact on the performance or the playback. So, because these cells are selected, after quantization, if they really don't contain any data, i.e. we have stripped all audio and subtitle, but the whole pack didn't contain video, that whole cell or pack or data is empty. Now that would be worked and included in the IFO structure as an empty cell, which is pointless. So if I select drop empty cells, I'm instructing the rebuilder not to add that in its final calculation for building the information structure for playback. With this, we are complete. If you are unhappy and you want to restart from scratch, just hit the reset button. It will reset it to its default condition. You notice there is no save button to save these structures, as really main feature is so independent on the user's choice. After you've said all this, all that's left for you to do is hit close. Everything is ready. We are going to be quantizing, so I will hit extract. And of course we will fast forward through this part. Here we can see it's updating the disk structures. It is far faster at this job. It has already built the IFOs. It is far faster here than the previous version. Just leave it to do its job for you and it will finish. That's it. RIP is complete. We can have a look in our folder to see a small structure, get info, 4.277 gigabytes, well inside the file size for a single-sided DVD. Thank you very much for watching this main feature update and user guide.